Alright, let's get this started. Let's see. No, we need more enthusiasm. Yeah, there we go. What comes after that? Yeah. I know how we're going to finish it. That sounds about right.
Here it is. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Writer's Desk. I'm glad you're able to join us this month here in the dog days of summer. I've let my dress code go a little bit. And I hope you're enjoying your summer. Last month though, we were talking about creating a plan and needing to understand where your story was heading. But I also said you needed flexibility. And that's what I want to talk about this week is the flexibility. And you see, no matter what your plan is, there's always going to be something you don't know. In the story that I was looking at right as y'all came in, is a story from my collection, The Light of All Lights. It's a story called Nasty Bruce in Short. It's a detective story about a detective named Harold Jacobs. One, I'm still really proud of that name. But two, as I wrote the story, I had this whole plan of what Harold Jacobs was doing, the mystery, the crime that was at the center of the story. But I didn't know what was going to happen to Harold Jacobs. So despite all my planning, I really had some major question marks that I didn't have an answer to. And one of the things I did was I sent out a message to a bunch of friends asking them, hey, this is where my story's at. What do you think should happen? One, that's really not a great idea. Because if you're going to make decisions in your story to please other people, it's ultimately not going to work. But what I ended up doing was I just simply had to listen to the story itself. Where is the story going? What is the story telling me needs to happen? What is true to the story as it is? And if you'll listen to the story as if it was a living being, it'll lead you to the answers. And I'm not going to tell you what happened to Harold Jacobs. You need to buy the book and read it yourself. But I'm not the only person who's had things like this. Famously, J.R.R. Tolkien, if you are one of the few who actually am proud who've read all the history of Middle-earth, if you even just flip through them, you might have found out, though, that there's this famous scene. And if you never read Lord of the Rings, that's okay. If you've seen the movie, you still know the scene that I'm talking about. But the hobbits come to a town called Brice, and they meet a stranger in the bar named Strider. And they were supposed to be meeting Gandalf. Tolkien had a general plan of what was supposed to be happening. But when he got to this scene, he didn't actually know the answers to two questions. One, who is Strider? Had no clue who he was at the time. Of course, he ends up being Aragorn, the title character of the third volume of Return of the King. The other question is, he didn't know why was Gandalf not there? Why did Gandalf not meet the Hobbit? And he had to listen to his story tell him the answers. He would sometimes describe it as discovering the answers. That the story was already there. He just had to discover what they were. But this, your plan you worked on last month is a master plan, but it doesn't have all the details, and it's okay for it to change. And there's one really important reason to remember why you can change it, why you have this flexibility. It's your story. It's nobody else's story. So you're the boss. And as things change, you have the freedom to make them change. You don't have to lock yourself into anything. So listen to your stories. If they're telling you they need to head in a direction that you didn't anticipate when you began, follow that instinct. Follow the, that change, that new variable that has occurred. And the story will turn out fine. So it's okay. Last week we talked about knowing where you're going, but it's also okay when you run into those situations you don't. Again, it sounds like this is all contradictory, but in fact, these two, last month and this month's advice, actually really work hand in hand with each other. So keep working on your story. Good luck with it, and come back next week and we'll talk a little bit more. All right. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you next month.